Hi everyone, this is a video to show you how to create your own smart lessons using our new Express editor. So as you can see, I'm logged into Education Perfect here, and to get to the Express editor, all I need to do is go to the content library and then ensure that I'm in edit mode. So normally when you log into Education Perfect, you would see this mode here, which is our browse mode, but we need to be in edit mode to create some smart lessons. So what I'm going to do is go into my private workspace, and then as you can see, I've just been playing around creating a few different things. So in order to create a smart lesson, we need to come down here to where it says add content, and obviously we're going to click on create a smart lesson. Now, you have a few different options when building your smart lesson. You can choose to include information slides, you can choose to include a range of quiz style questions, and you can choose to include a range of extended responses. At this point, you can choose to keep all of them in, and then you can remove them later, which is usually the easiest thing. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start building. The first thing I'm going to do is give my lesson a name. So I'm just going to call this our test lesson for the webinar on the 2nd of the 5th, 2018. Then down here we can see, just like when a smart lesson has been created by our team, you see our different sections that appear down the side here. So when we click on information, that is what we have here. So we have our information section, and we can add a range of different slides. We can then have a look at the quiz section and the extended response. So what we're going to do is first off create a title slide. So this is going to be our webinar lesson 1, and give it a subtitle, Creating Smart Lessons. So as you can see, I've got a few different options of what I can do. I can add an image, so I can search our image gallery and I can look for webinar and nothing comes up. So what I can do is I can upload an image, and I can find an image on my machine. And I know I have one that will work here somewhere. It's possibly in my downloads folder. Let's see, here we go. So I've chosen the image that I want to include. It will load into the system. If it's an image that you've taken from the internet, you can use an attribution. So remember, showing good digital citizenship to our students, showing that we're citing our resources. So you can just add an attribution list at the bottom there. So I'm going to use this image, and then I can make my Creating Smart Lessons nice and big. I can change the color, the text color, make it purple. And then I have some other optional settings which would send us back to our advanced editor. So at the moment, we're just going to leave that as it is. And then I'm going to add a new slide. So this time I'm going to add a side-by-side slide. So this is going to be my welcome slide. So we can put a heading, we can put some content. Okay, so we can change this text in any way that we like, just like we can with a Word document. So I can make different words highlighted. Actually didn't want to highlight it. I just wanted to change the color, of the text. Oh dear. I've done it again. Okay, so you can also underline, italicize, and make words bold. Here we have different forms of media that we can upload. So I've just showed you how to upload an image. You can also upload a sound file from your device, and lastly, you can upload a video. So we have a range of videos that are in our system that have been created by our team. Or alternatively, you can search YouTube and you can find a video that works nicely in your situation. and then you simply paste the link into that space there. Again, you can give it an attribution, and I want to use that video, and it's going to sit nicely in where I have the video. Alternatively, I can switch the content. I can give the students an explanation if I need to. However, this is just a little bit of an introduction slide. Next thing I can do is add another slide, and then you can just have a look through these different types of slides. So a media slide obviously is just a nice big media file. So it puts your video nice and big, allows you to make it nice and bold so the students can see it, so it takes up a lot of the screen. I would have loved this about 8 months ago while I was still teaching. I used to flip my classroom, and I would just sort of bank on my students watching the videos on YouTube. I didn't really get any analytics of who had watched it and who hadn't watched it. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on here. Just trying to grab a different video from YouTube and it's not working. So let's try something different. The joys of technology. Let's try this one. There we go. So I used to create my own videos for my students to watch and host them on YouTube. But as I was saying, I didn't really get any feedback from YouTube, which told me which students had watched the videos. I had no way of really creating nice and easy questions for the students to answer that gave me feedback on how the students were going. So eight months ago, this would have been a massive game changer for my classroom. And hopefully you can see that just what you can do with your students as well, especially in this flipped classroom capacity. So I can give the students a description here. So this video is looking at syllabus dot point, compare the structure, etc. So I could put the syllabus dot point at the bottom there so the students knew exactly what they were looking at. Then we can go into the quiz section. So in order to add a question, I need to simply click where it says add a question. And here you can see the different types of questions that we have available. So we'll go through all 4 of the different options. So the first one is nice and simple, multiple choice. So I can create a question here based on my video. Identify the smallest of the 3 structures used to transport blood around the body. And I can put my answers in here. Okay, so you only need a minimum of 2 responses. You can have more than 2 responses. You can also have multiple correct answers. So here, obviously, we just have the 1 correct answer. So the students will select capillaries and it will tell them that they're correct or not. So by leaving this answer ordering as random means that it doesn't matter what answer I put in first. I just sort of got into the habit of creating multiple choice questions with the correct answer first, just so I knew it was there. I didn't have to make sure that I switched around my correct answer. But by leaving random selected, it would automatically randomize the options. So capillaries would not always appear at the top. If you, however, had a question that had an image and it was labeled, the objects were labeled A, B, C, D, and you wanted them to remain in order, then you could simply change over to ordered, ordered, and you would then have A, B, C, D appear in order for the students. Down here we have some really nice images. So what the system will actually do is look for keywords in your question and give you some suggested images. You don't have to use those images. Alternatively, you can upload your own images. So we'll have a look at that in a second. So I'm just going to quickly pick this one here. You can change your layout depending on the type of question you're asking. So I'm just going to leave it at the default layout just there. So that's one question done. So the next question, I may hang on, sorry. How's it going? I'm just in the middle of recording because I wasn't sure if you were going to come. So feel free to keep listening in. I'm just going to keep going and then I can answer questions at the end. Okay, so what we're going to quickly look at is a couple of different ways of editing the multiple choice questions. So the first multiple choice question we made was nice and straightforward. We had one answer, 3 options. So this one I'm going to include some information. So read the table and identify the time it took to complete, for the water to boil. Oh gosh, boil. So then we can find our image. So I'm going to again upload an image. I need to find it on my device. So that's a graph table here. Okay. So here we have imported the table. So now I can give the different answers. So 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. So we know that 10 minutes is the correct answer. The options are going to be randomized, but this time I want to change the layout because I want the graph to appear straight underneath the question. So when the students read the question, they don't have to go up and down. So I'm going to change to this option here, just to quickly preview. So here it flows nicely. So read the table and identify the time. The table's nicely underneath the question, and then the options are there. So the next type of question that we can use is a fill in the gap style question. So we click on fill in the gaps. So this creates a really nice closed passage style question for the students. So the question prompt simply needs to be a statement that tells the students what they need to do. So read the paragraph and enter the correct words into the correct spaces. So then we find a passage for the students. Should have found something earlier to be organized, a little bit more organized. Let's go. Okay, so I've just found a piece of text on the internet that relates to the video that I put in our information section. So once the text is in here, I then need to click on where it says choose gaps and then select the words that I want to appear as the gaps in the closed passage. So I'm going to choose this word here, lungs, veins, heart, and we'll put arteries in as well. So as you can see, we've created our word bank here out of the words that we've selected in yellow. So when the students see the question, so if we just quickly switch to preview mode, the students will see it just like a closed passage and they can then put these words in the correct order. Now, if you want to make it a little bit trickier for the students, you can actually add your own distractors. So if I add a distractor here, I want to include deoxygenated. So I know that the students know that the oxygenated blood is carried away, the deoxygenated blood is carried to. I'm going to add capillaries. What else can we add? Let's just add the brain, just add a few other random words so that the students then see when we preview, now there's more words than spaces. So the students have to read the passage really carefully and be able to put the correct words into the space. Again, we can add an image. Probably wouldn't do that with this one. We can just leave it as it is. So let's add another question. This time we're going to add a highlight question. So here we would put the question prompt, read the passage and highlight the words that relate to the blood vessels of the human body. apologies for my biology references, but you can do exactly the same with languages or maths or English, or very similar. So again, I've pasted the same text in there this time because it's a different question now. So when I click on choose highlights, I can pick all of the words that I've said that I want the students to relate to blood vessels. So I'm just going to pick arteries, veins, and veins. So when the students see the question, they just see it normally with all the text appearing there, but as they hover over each of the words, it changes. So what they need to do is click on all of the words that they think answers the question, and then they can check their answer, and it lets them know if they're correct or not. So that would be really nice for a spelling activity. Yes, highlighting verbs, adjectives, etc. So you could also have if I add another one here, oh, wrong one. So if select the correctly spelt words from the options in brackets, you could have a passage and put two words next to each other in a bracket. And then when you choose the highlights, the students have to, oh, that's right, I just realized we need to put a space in there so it identifies it as separate words. So the students then have to select the correct word, yes. So that's a really nice, quick and easy way to create a really nice literacy-based activity in any subject, but also definitely with languages, looking at specific verbs, adjectives, etc. And then the last type of question is annotated questions. So here, what basically the annotated questions is it turns one page into a series of questions. So again, if I add my text and then I choose oxygenated blood, I can then ask the students a question based on that term. So what color is oxygenated blood? And then again, we've got the ability to create questions within questions. So do veins have valves? Yes or no? Okay, so it's just it turns a passage in, rather than having them across different pages of your activity, it's sort of questions within the one page. So it would be really nice for a comprehension style activity where all the text is in one place and the students just go through and answer each of the questions there. So what the students will see is the different colors relate to the different text that we've highlighted. So the student will then click on the different colors and answer the questions, and then they check their answer and it marks all of the questions within the one section. How many can we put in the one question? I actually don't think that there's a limit. So if we just keep going, we can add as many as you want. So it just all turns out different colors. So when we preview it, you just end up with lots of little questions down the side. And yes, always turns out to be a different color, so it relates to the text that's there. So it's nice and easy for the students to refer to where the question is relating to. Okie dokie. Okay. Beautiful. So I'm going to, though, delete all of these now because it won't let me. So I'll just put questions in there so I can move on to the next section. Okay, so again, we can add an image, we can change the layout just like all of our other questions. So we can include an image that the students need to refer to as well. We've got our annotated questions at the bottom. So they're the different styles of questions that are nice and easy to create with the Express editor. You do have the ability to go from here into the advanced editor and create some different styles of questions using that. However, once you get your head around using these different styles of questions, I think it really opens the ability to create a whole range of different question types without necessarily needing to confuse yourself with the advanced editor. I'm just going to quickly save this, so just in case. So then we've got our information slides at the top, just to quickly show you what we are looking at. So we've got our introduction slide, which is going to take a second to load. Oh, my videos aren't loading. Sorry about that. Oh dear. Let me just quickly. Oh no. Oh, here we go. So, oh, I'm feeling that I don't want the question anymore. Okay. So let's save the lesson again. There we go. We've got our introduction slide that's got a short video and what it's talking about. We then have our next media slide, which has a nicer video with a description of what the video is. And then we can go into our quiz questions with our multiple choice style questions, our fill in the gap, our highlight questions, our different style of highlight questions where we're looking at spelling, and our annotated questions. So we're going to just jump back into edit mode, and now we're going to have a look at some of the different extended response style questions. So we've got three different styles of extended response questions. The long answer question is fairly obvious. So write a short story in French that will tell your friends what you did on the weekend. And then the students will have space that they can write their answer in. And then if you wanted to give the students a model answer, obviously this one's going to be fairly freeform because the students are writing a short story. But if you wanted to give the students keywords as well, so depending on the type of question that you were asking the students. So for example, I'm going to save this one and I'll add a new one. So describe the pathway of the blood as it travels around the body. Again, my biology is coming back to me. So if I put in, I definitely want the student to use the words vein. I want them to use arteries. I may also want them to use artery, and I may want them to use veins. Oops. So you can put in keywords and then add synonyms as well. So for example, if I put cold, I may also put cool because they're very similar words and they could be used within this context. So you can add as many keywords as you like, and just like the smart lessons that already exists, as the students' answers show those words, they will highlight within the student's answer and they will appear down the side. So if I just put in some text, just like our normal smart lessons, as those keywords appear, they will turn yellow in the student's answer and they will turn green with a tick by the side of them in the keywords. Sound Recorder is a great tool for our language teachers, but also for our teachers of students who might struggle to explain themselves in text, but they've got really good verbal skills. So you could give the students the question prompt. So again, I could just ask the same question. So describe how the blood travels around the body. And I want the students to give me a nice solid recording of their answer. So a quick recording of just up to 30 seconds would be handy for really nice quick translations. However, if you wanted the students to read you their story in French, you could give them the extended recording, which gives them up to 10 minutes worth of time to record their answers. And then as a teacher, so this is what the students will see. They will simply click the start recording button. The device will use the inbuilt microphone. Always good. Kids usually always have a pair of iPhone earphones with them, which have a built-in microphone, which is great for picking up voice and cutting out quite a bit of ambient sound. So the students can record for 10 minutes and then it will upload their answer to the system. And then as a teacher, you can log in and listen to their recordings and give the students feedback. The last option is our scratch pad. So here, label 3 parts of this diagram. So with the scratch pad, you can actually upload a background image. So this is great for science, maths, for teachers that want students to do a labeling exercise, graphing exercise, quite nice as well. But even you could have your question in French and the students have to circle those particular items on the diagram. So you may, my French isn't so good, but you could even have a picture of a map and get the student to identify particular locations in France that you might study during your French lessons. So here, the students will then be able to choose their colours. So you could even break the question down even further and get them to label different things in different colours or circle different things in different colours. So what the students will see is simply something like this. They can pick their colours and they can draw all over the picture. Again, you can give the students a model answer. So you can upload a model answer or you can sketch a model answer, which gives you a mirror image of what you've just put in there, and then you can create your model answer. So when the students input their answers, if we just jump back here again, the student checks their answer and they can see their drawing versus the example drawing and give themselves a rating out of 5 stars like they do at the moment. The big thing to see when you're in creating your own lessons, the extended response section is, where are we going? Optional for students. So students mark themselves on Scratchpad, yes. So any of these blue sections down here, just like in our normal smart lessons, if the student answers these questions, they will be shown a model answer. So even with the sound recording question, you can upload a sound file of you recording your voice that the students can compare their response to. So the students will then be able to give themselves a mark in order to move forward in the activity, just like they do with the smart lessons now. So giving themselves feedback based on the model answers that they see. Yes, it definitely does take a long time to go in and give feedback on every individual student's work. So with this way, they will be able to hear your recording and compare their response to that. Then they can have another go. I used to find the same thing, even with just written responses from science students. I would go in and at the beginning of the term especially, and just be really quite thorough with my feedback at the beginning of the term to make sure the students were doing the work correctly, that they weren't trying to cut corners. And then as the term went on, I would be able to relax how much feedback I needed to give because the students knew what I was expecting of them. And I would always, however, still go in once a week and check those usual suspects who would try to get away with not doing the work. So the tick for resubmission button is really handy to get those students in the habit of working solidly, because the second you tick that resubmission box, their percentage progress drops from 100% back down again. So it shows that their work is incomplete, and hopefully they wouldn't want that to be appearing on their records. So they'll go back in and have another go. And I found after a couple of weeks, the students actually really started to get a lot more proactive with their work and would really put a little bit more effort in, so I didn't have to give feedback all the time. Okie. So I'm just going to quickly save again. So as I said before, when we have a look at the different sections, it will tell you how many slides you have within the section and whether it's optional or compulsory. So the only section that is compulsory is the quiz section. So what you can actually do is, where are we going? There we go. So when you click on the section, you have the option here of turning it into being compulsory for the students. So you can go into any of our smart lessons and edit our smart lessons to make sure that the students are spending the time going through those information slides properly, and the same with the extended response. We also are looking at students giving peer review, which would be really handy for languages where the students can actually listen to each other's responses and give each other feedback without you having to go in all the time. So if you click suitable for peer review, that will actually allow the students to go through and listen to each other's work or read each other's responses and give them feedback as well. So now we've created our different sections that we want. We can go back and add another information section, we can add another quiz section, we can add another extended response section. So just like our smart lessons start off with a quick introduction, some quick quiz questions to make sure the students have understood that, then add some more information and layer it on top of each other rather than delivering it all in one big chunk. So you can add as many information and quiz and extended response sections as you like. The really nice thing is if you just have a video that you would like, a lesson that you usually use in Education Perfect that would work really nicely with some things that you already have in your toolkit of resources, you can go into our, why is it maths? That's okay. You can go into the content library and just pick a lesson. And I want to include all of this in my smart lesson now. So now I have a lesson that I only spent a couple of minutes creating the bits that I wanted, but now I can add that on top of something that already exists. Okay, so I can now go into these optional sections here and make sure that they're no longer optional for my students. I can shuffle these sections around by grabbing them and dragging them up and down. I can even edit individual slides. So let's go. Let's just change this. Okay, so you may have a video that you already use with your students that you want to incorporate into an Education Perfect lesson that already exists. You don't want to have to write your own questions and things. You can just simply import that particular lesson into the Express editor and then add as many information, quiz, extended response slides as you like. So again, we can save that. Once you've finished creating your lesson with all your different sections, you can then assign it to your students just like you would through the tasks and homework tab using the assign button at the top here. You can assess the students on it, which will remove the yellow sections as well as those blue extended response sections using the green assessment tab. Or if we go right back home, I can go into tasks and homework, assign a task, and then I can find that task that I've just created in my private workspace, confirm selection, and then it will be assigned to whichever class I choose to assign it to. So are there any questions about what we've talked about, what I've shown you on how to do? Is there anything else you'd like me to show you or explain? Glad to hear that you think it's great. So yeah, you can also make your own spelling lists and fact lists, which I'm sure you've seen before. So so I can really quickly show you how to add videos. It's really quite simple. So if I go back into my test lesson, and I want to add an information slide. So you have a couple of different ways that you can do that. So the two ways I showed at the beginning was adding a full media slide or a side-by-side. So if you just want a nice big video, so so give it a title, and then all you need to do is go to YouTube, grab the link at the top of YouTube, and then you paste it into this space here. And then use this video, and it's there. Okay, so alternatively, we have a range of videos in our, except none on France. A range of videos that our team have created. So there's some that are in our French lessons already. Unfortunately, though, they're not labeled, so it would be probably a little bit tricky to work out what exactly you wanted. So if you create your own videos, or you flip your classroom and host videos to YouTube, or you know of videos on YouTube, just simply find it and paste that link into this space here. You can upload videos that are stored on your, so videos from YouTube can be as big as you like, okay? Because they're hosted on the internet, we're just borrowing them from YouTube. However, I have found that the upload video can be quite small. So a way to get around that is you can get yourself a YouTube channel through, you don't need, through basically a Google account will get you a YouTube channel. And then you can actually choose to have your videos unlisted. And then all you do is when you share the link, the people with the link are able to see the videos and nobody else. So quite a few people I know do that way. So, not being overly confident about having things up on YouTube, but that is one way around that, is creating your channel, making your channel. So can the videos on the channel remain private? Yes. So when you upload to YouTube, you can change the visibility settings that only people with the link can view the videos. So when you put that link into Education Perfect, I would assume that you are able to, let me just double check that actually. Sorry, I'll just quickly see if I can work that out. Okay. So I've just made that video listed. Oh. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, so this was a video I created myself as well, and that I had on YouTube, and it's now listed as unlisted on YouTube, which means people won't be able to search for it, but I can still use that link and share it with other people. I think if you set it to private, it means that nobody else would be able to see it, but having it as unlisted means that people can't search for it on YouTube. But if you were to share the link with people, then they can still watch it. Okay. Yes, definitely. So from here, so when I click on it, so these activities are all still in my private workspace. So if I click on the lesson that's still in my private workspace, so you may have things that you don't want your colleagues to see. I'm sure that's not the case, but you can create lessons within your private workspace and assign and assess them straight from your private workspace. If you did want to share it with your colleagues, what you can actually do is create a shared folder underneath the My Schools content. And then you can go back into your private workspace and drag and drop things into that folder. So that means other teachers within the school will be able to use those resources as well. And what you can actually do is choose to hide the whole folder from the students. What's what I'm doing? And then that way the students won't see those folders in when they go into French, or in this case, in my case, if my math students went on to Education Perfect, they wouldn't see this shared folder in their maths folder. But if I chose to share it with the students, just like all of the other folders that they see when they log on, they will be able to see that shared folder and go into there and choose any of those lessons as well. Yep, so that's what you might want to do, is just hide from the students, but you can still assign things in that folder to the students. You can also hide individual lessons within folders as well. So just hiding them from the students means that they physically cannot see it without you assigning it to them or assessing them on it. So that's really handy if you're creating exams or assessment tasks through Education Perfect. The fact that you can hide those lessons so the students can't see them until you're ready for them to see them. Okay. Are there any other questions? Anything else I can quickly help you out with at all?